Hello and welcome to CoreTV News at 4. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. A former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Bamanga Tukur, has announced his retirement from politics. Tukur made this known in an address at the lecture organized to mark his 80th birthday in Abuja. Going further, he said he's done his best for the former ruling party and that it is time for him to retire from partisan politics. He added that during his short-lived tenure as the chairman of the party, he tried to introduce sanity into the affairs of the party. He also claimed to have introduced internal democracy, party discipline, and party supremacy. This, he says, remained the ingredients of strong party systems, which he said drives the democratic process. The Nigerian military says troops have cleared terrorist camps as Bolungo, Bolodoye, and Churchill there in the early hours of today. The defense headquarters revealed in a series of tweets that dozens of kidnapped women and children held captive by Boko Haram terrorists were also rescued. It also maintained that ground troop operations and aerial bombardments by fighter jets are ongoing. The tweets by the defense spokesman, Colonel Rabi Abubakar, also indicates that more Boko Haram camps have been wiped off towards Banki, Kushe, and Bama axis. The National Orientation Agency has called for increased vigilance and alertness on the part of the citizenry to safeguard critical national infrastructure and common facilities. This, the NOA says, is in view of recent successes recorded by the military in the war against insurgency. Director General of the agency, Michael Mary, said in a statement that this is the time to protect critical national infrastructure and common facilities, including sources and channels of food and water supplies. He added that all hands must be on deck to support the military and complement their heroic efforts by availing security agencies of useful information about suspicious characters, items, and movement. Omeri specifically called on public agencies, including federal and state water boards, as well as management of internally displaced persons camps across the country, to take extra measures to protect the environment and the citizenry by ensuring the farmlands, farm produce, water bodies, and public water sources are not compromised. Ife kingmakers have asked the guests of ruling house to present qualified candidates from the family to be selected as the next Ooni of Ife. The Obalufe of Ife, Solomon Omishake, who read the address of the 16 traditional rulers of Ife at the press conference held at the Ile Odua, said the kingmakers used the 1980 Ife Chieftaincy Declaration to arrive at the decision to ask Gesi to produce the next Ooni. Omishake stated that the new Ooni will emerge within the next 40 days.
Queensmaker by traditional rules and custom, hereby unanimously declare and affirm and confirm that 1980 Ife Chieftaincy Declaration is the one existent now, and we affirm as follows. Section 19, Section A3, that is the term that it is the term of Gwesi ruling house to present the candidates for the Council of Ooni of Ife Chieftaincy. 2. Other 3 ruling houses, that is Oshinkola, Ogbogu, and Lafugudo, should wait for their turns. 3. No ruling house should be restricted to a particular quarter or area of the town because members of the ruling houses live in different parts of the town. Finally, we hereby enjoin the members of the 4 ruling houses, the townspeople, all religious bodies, men and women in the environment, to please maintain absolute peace. By doing this, the King General will be able to select the best candidate for the Council of Ooni of Ife. May God grant us peaceful coexistence.
The International Day of Democracy is marked yearly on September 15. The aim of democracy is to preserve and promote the dignity of fundamental human rights. The theme for this year's celebration is Space for Civil Society. Our correspondent, Neto Elaborate, spurred the role of civil society groups in keeping the government accountable through public participation and political dialogue. Our report is presented from our studios.
According to Inter-Parliamentary Union, public participation is important in democracy as it assists in strengthening politicians' accountability to the people. Comrade Akoni Iromini, an activist, talks about the relationship between government and civil society.
Challenges we are facing in the civil society in Nigeria today is that we don't have democrats among the political players. Most of them cannot be regarded as democrats. Well, we don't have the true relationship that we ought to have, because most of those that are claiming to be members of civil society are actually the sycophants of Nigerian politicians.
Let's hear from the people.
At the moment, this present government, they are still trying to settle down. But before now, I would say it's cordial. It's cordial, but since the present government came to be, there hasn't been much consultation, but we are still expecting it to get better.
So they will need, people that will serve, like their eyes, and their ears. And these are the civil society, organizations.
To ensure successful and stable democracies globally, government needs to work together with civil society for common goals to be achieved for a better future. Deji Gbalaon Elumoye, Chairman, National Union of Journalists, talks about the practice of democracy in Nigeria.
Democracy is well practiced in Nigeria, especially in the last 60 years or thereabouts. It's too small a time for people to say we are going, at least somebody wants to become a dictator. To me, no. I think it's ready to go, was taking his time to study all the handover notes, listen to all the palm checks of all the ministries and departments and agencies of government. But I believe by the end of this one, from our next month, all these ministers will be in place and every other. So to me, I don't believe we are sliding into dictatorship, but he's only doing his own job, different from the way other governments did their own in the last 16 years.
Democracy can bring peace and stability in Nigeria when we work to promote positive change through political dialogue and adequate action.
The federal government has commended the Peace and Security Council of the African Union for providing the continent with an effective mechanism and tool in conflict management. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this at the opening of a retreat for members of the AU Peace and Security Council and regional economic communities, focusing on the promotion of peace, security and stability in Africa, held at the Sheraton Hotel and Towers in Abuja. According to him, the Peace and Security Council has been a novel African initiative in many respects, one that has proven an effective tool in conflict management. Speaking at an audience of ambassadors and diplomats from several African countries, the Vice President added that the achievements of this council in its 11 years of existence have set it out as an outstanding best practice worthy of emulation by other regions in the world. The police in the Federal Capital Territory are seeking the support of major mechanics to check the trend of car thefts in the nation's capital. Commissioner of Police Wilson Inalago on Monday urged them to continue their customers' field job order forms for proper identification. He spoke at the stakeholders meeting on security matters in Abuja ahead of the forthcoming Eid al-Fitr celebration.
Wherever anybody is changing the color of his vehicle, we need to know why is he changing the color. If his panel beating, was it involved in a road crash? Was a report made to any police station? Because it is an offense not to report an accident. You've got to report the accident. And so once this report is brought to us, we again have means of checking. Or you are changing an engine. We have equipment which we can do an etching, and we're able to determine if the engine number of that vehicle is the original one. And working together with other sister agencies, we will determine who the original owner of this car is. In this way, we believe we'll be able to check issue of theft of car.
In Kaduna State, Governor Nasir El-Rufai has promised to give free education to primary and secondary school in the state. He made the pledge at the end of a two-day cabinet retreat. The governor pointed out that his administration is prepared to follow the steps of President Muhammadu Buhari's regime.
Parents of children in the primary and secondary school in Kaduna State are in high spirit as the Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai promised to assist in providing free feeding, uniform and other payments in all government-owned schools. The governor said the gesture would help parents save over 600 million naira annually.
Any principal or headmaster that we hear is collecting a penny under any guise will be disciplined seriously. No parent should pay a penny. Instead, what the state government is doing is looking at ways and means of ensuring that our pupils are comfortable, they have the appropriate learning environment, and even giving food to encourage them to stay in school. We have all these programs that I've outlined and we'll pursue them, and we're serious about them, and it's our #1 priority.
He also spoke on the duties of members of vigilance groups in assisting security agencies in the state.
Basic education is free and compulsory. We want every child to be in school, and we'll try to provide those in public schools. Those that choose to take their children to private schools are making choices, and they should live with their choices. If you know that the school you're taking your child is not accredited, doesn't have laboratories, you still take your child, you know what you're doing. We will do our job to the best that we can as a regulatory agency, but we want to apply 80% of our energies on improving public schools. That's what we committed to do.
The retreat, which was chaired by the governor, together had all 13 commissioners and special advisors in attendance.
Lecturers in the Osun State-owned tertiary institutions stormed the State Assembly to protest non-payment of their salary in the last 8 months. Thus, lecturers earning the ages of Council of Academic Staff Unions of Osun State-owned tertiary institutions also say they are no longer interested in the contributory pension scheme. CoreTV correspondent Rashid reports that the obviously aggrieved lecturers were seen chanting abusive and anti-government songs. More of the story.
For 3 months now, students in all the 4 tertiary institutions in Osun State have been at home owing to the industrial action embarked upon by their lecturers. Lecturers from the 4 institutions comprising 2 polytechnics and 2 colleges of education gathered in their numbers at the State House of Assembly complex to agitate for the payment of their 8-month salary arrears among other demands, carrying placards with different inscriptions. According to the Secretary of the Union, Segun Lana, the lecturers can no longer bear the agony of the situation anymore, hence the need for the state government to answer their prayers soon.
If government should pay any salary that is less than all our outstanding salaries, together with all the deductions, and correctly, and leave bonuses, and correctly, based on the payroll schedule submitted and audited by our institutions, we want to say that the calamity that may follow, which we see looming as leaders, and for which reason we decided to lead our members here to come and ventilate their grievances themselves, we should not be held responsible.
The Chief Whip of the House, Folorun Shoba Mishayemi, while addressing the protesters on behalf of the Speaker, appealed to them to exercise patience, saying efforts are on the way to ensure the demands are met.
Now, and if indeed we are representing you, if indeed we are your government, we should be able to take your complaints. The House of Assembly, GS Minister said the legislation is, a congress of opinion. And it says it is a committee of grievances. So this place is a committee of grievances. Be free to ventilate. Gentlemen, we sort out this issue.
All efforts made by the Speaker of the House of Assembly, who later showed up to address the protesters, was rebuffed.
Enough of this saluta thereabout. We've listened to you, we understand all that you are saying. It is good for us to respond back. And that is the essence of you coming down here. Otherwise, this is not the governor's office. this is the House Assembly, although we are part and parcel of the government, this grievance is against the executive, not directly against the. I want silence.
The tertiary workers are no doubt ready for a real battle with the state government. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshogbo.
You're still watching CoreTV News at 4. We'll take a break now. We'll be back with more stories. Please stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Is it crazy or autocracy? Or what type of crazy is that? Except crazy.
News making the headlines.
Black Maria is to carry criminals, trading looters that are in government today.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
Slap you in the face. Excuse me, don't put words into my mouth.
Whatever it is that will bring our military to disrepute, I said to hell.
On Core Digest.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
Every weekday, we bring all of these together and take them to the court of public opinion.
Everybody has a right in Nigeria.
Where you are the judge.
Thank you for joining us again. For more on the news and other programs, please visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can follow us on Twitter at CoreTV News NG. Also visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/CoreTV with a space the news. The Federal Ministry of Transport has commenced a review of employments, placements and promotions embarked upon by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency NIMASA since 2010. The committee, which is headed by the ministry's Director of Human Resources, Lawal Ibrahim, is expected to determine whether employment, placements and promotions in NIMASA from 2010 to date conformed to the civil service procedures and were also in line with the federal character principle. Commenting on the exercise, the Acting Director General of NIMASA, Haruna Baba Jaro, said the main objective of the exercise was to ensure proper staff placement in line with the extant federal civil service regulations. According to the NIMASA helmsman, the exercise would aid the process of motivating the staff of the agency and get the best out of them in the discharge of their responsibilities. Moving on, staff of tertiary institutions in Kwara State have given an ultimatum to the state government to embark on strike by the 20th of this month if their 5-month salary arrears are not paid. The leadership of the Committee of Union of Tertiary Institutions, after a deadlock meeting with the state head of service, said 2 of their members lost their children due to the inability to pay hospital bills, and the government promised to settle their arrears soon. Rashid has more.
For the last 5 months, the issue of non-payment of salary arrears has been a major challenge of members of staff of tertiary institutions in Kwara State, making them to be at loggerheads with the state government. The institutions are state polytechnics, 3 colleges of education, and College of Arabic and Islamic Studies. At an emergency meeting held with the state head of service, the leadership of the union described the meeting as deadlocked, as the government official only asked them to be patient, a situation which they claimed did not go down well with them, having written several letters to different organs on their plight before now without success.
We received an invitation for this meeting from the head of service to attend a meeting with her this morning, and we were here. We discussed the position of the head of service is that the state government are still looking forward to how they can be able to resolve this. They agree that they are owing us the 5-month salary, and as soon as possible they are going to look into it. But they want us to renege on that ultimatum that was given, and that we have taken the position. We are not sent here to go back on that 21-day ultimatum. So as far as the union is still concerned, that 21-day ultimatum still exists.
The vice chairman of the union lamented that 2 members of the union lost their children due to inability to pay hospital bills, adding that the members will embark on total strike at the end of the 21-day notice, which will expire by the 20th of this month.
And from what is going on now, we don't see anything. Nothing is forthcoming from the government. And they're saying they're not owing us when our families are suffering. Our families are really suffering. My chairman just told you, 2 of our members have lost their children as a result of inability to pay medical fees. You can imagine what is happening. We are really suffering, and we want the government to intervene quickly. And this is why we have issued 21 days ultimatum. And at the expiration of the government 21 days ultimatum, if nothing is done, I'm sorry.
The senior special assistant to the governor of media, Muhyiddin Akorede, explained that although the government is owing, but noted that it is not uniformed, as some have been cleared, while others are not owing up to that.
We are all aware of the economic situation in the country as it affects all 3 tiers of government, and the efforts not only of the state government, but crucially of the federal government to resolve them through the recent bailouts and the assistance to all tiers of government. These monies are coming in trickles, and the state government on its part is doing everything possible by strengthening its revenue generating activities with the Kwara State Internal Revenue Service, which has just been set up. But these things take time. So I want to urge all staff of the tertiary institutions and also of other ministries, departments and agencies whose employers are in arrears with them to exercise a little more patience with the administration. The governor is doing all within his power to resolve this issue, but these things take time.
While he pleads with the tertiary workers to reason with the government as the current economic situation in the country is responsible, he urged them to augment whatever the government is giving them with internal generated revenue of the various institutions. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ilorin.
Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode has unveiled plans to commence the quarterly rendering of accounts of stewardship of his administration to intimate Lagosians in the journey so far, as well as his plans to take the state to the next level. The governor, in a statement signed by his chief press secretary, Habib Haruna, said the quarterly rendering of accounts, which will take the form of town hall meetings, will take the government to the nook and crannies of the state to present its accounts of stewardship. He said the town hall meetings will not only afford his administration the opportunity to render its account, it would also go a long way to feel the pulse of the people and get first-hand knowledge of their needs and concerns. He said his administration's efforts in the last 3 months have been geared towards making sure the public institutions work in the interest of the people, alluding to the fact that public institutions have been animated to measure up to the expectations of the people of the state. And in business, President Muhammadu Buhari has met with European business leaders in a bid to pitch its agenda to the business community ahead of the appointment of ministers before the end of the month. The president discussed where the economy and where Nigeria stand, as well as the challenges and opportunities ahead. Buhari discussed economic gains in the private sector at the meeting, and where he's also looking for support to advance issues like the economy, trade and infrastructure. President of Medad Peregatas, Niger's ambassador to France, Hakim Sulaiman, Ogun State Governor Ibikunle Amosun, Abdulaziz Yari, Abubakar of Zamfara State, and Abubakar Badar of Jigawa were also present at a high-level breakfast meeting. Tony Elumelu led a group of CEOs of some of the country's leading companies at the high-level meeting with French CEOs. Wale Tinubu of Ondo was also present together with the GMD of the NNPC, Ibe Kachuku. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Power, Ambassador Godno Zagali, has assured investors in Nigeria's power sector that the Muhammadu Buhari administration will sustain reforms in the power sector initiated by previous administrations of Olusegun Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan. Egali said the government will not only sustain the reforms, but also fine-tune the policy guiding the operations of the sector in order to address the challenges facing the electricity industry. Egali added that the government will continue to refine anything that needs to be refined to enable ease of business in Nigeria. He said the federal government is also looking at the diversification of the nation's power base to include coal and others. Despite the uncertainty that has prevailed in the Nigerian foreign exchange market, interest of investors in the market is still high, as Travelex is set to open more foreign exchange outlets across Nigeria. The outlets, according to Travelex, are to be located in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kano and Abuja in the first phase. This follows the Central Bank of Nigeria's approval for the firm to undertake direct sales of dollar to qualified FX users at CBN's rate. Transactions to be covered under the arrangements include mostly government-approved personnel, travel allowance and business travel allowance, respectively. The initiative is part of the CBN strategy to avail travelers for personal leisure or business purposes of FX's official rates. This measure is expected to assist in achieving convergence between the official exchange rate and what currently obtains in the parallel market. Anthony Ewaraji, General Manager Travelex Nigeria, said the company is eager to support the ongoing CBN FX policy and the Nigerian economic system to ease the current challenges in the nation's FX market. Travelers trade in over 80 currencies and does business in over 100 countries with over 20,000 business outlets, including all major airports and seaports in the world, with over 1,250 ATMs. Acting Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Tude Fowler, has handed down a strong warning to firms who do not fully remit their taxes to government coffers. He maintained that henceforth the faulters will be made to face disciplinary action. Fowler made this known on Monday at the meeting of the Joint Tax Board in Abuja. Pius Samuel has more on the meeting that had heads of state tax force in attendance.
It's the first time the newly appointed FIRS chairman is meeting with chairmen of state tax boards after his appointment a few weeks ago. And now he says he's ready to bring the desired change that would enhance revenue generation across the country. But first, Fowler plans to improve on revenue collection through enhanced collaboration by taxed authorities.
And now, as the chairman of the Joint Tax Board, it is also my belief that with my appointment as the acting executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, we shall jointly work towards repositioning this board and the Nigeria tax administration system in order to achieve optimum collection of tax revenue at all levels of government. The theme of this meeting, improving revenue collection through enhanced collaboration by tax authorities, is deliberately chosen to underscore my commitment to actualizing my quest of creating a more robust tax operating system through collaborative efforts among various tax authorities.
Fowler is confident that if all taxable corporate entities pay their taxes as at when due, Nigeria will be better off. He urged the state chairman to ensure that all taxable persons are put in their database for adequate monitoring and follow-up.
It's common knowledge that administration of value-added tax, VAT, is greatly hindered by many factors, ranging from inadequate coverage of VATable persons to non-remittance of VAT deductions. Tax revenue loss in this aspect can only be imagined. I have also identified the fact that there is deficiency on our part as tax administrators in terms of collaboration and cooperation in these areas of exchange of information for tax purposes. I listed out areas in which we can quickly start working together as follows. A, identifying and locating taxpayers through sharing and exchange of information as much as possible. And I believe that all states present here has received information from the FIRS of all companies within our database.
And to ensure that revenue meant for government are not diverted, the FIRS boss handed down a note of warning to firms and corporate entities who do not remit their tax in full to government. He says the agency will henceforth punish any firm that defaults in tax remittance.
Well, certainly, our tax laws give room for punitive measures, both criminal and civil litigation. Now, for the organizations who do not do the right thing, apart from taking them to court on civil charges or liabilities, we'll also charge the directors or the CEOs of those organizations.
The acting FIRS chairman assumed office with a reputation for raising internally generated revenue in Lagos State, and Nigerians are hopeful that he will do a similar job at the federal level. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Gujarat, the state Prime Minister Narendra Modi ran for more than a decade as India's best place for conducting business, in a report that ranks the country's states in an effort to encourage them to cut red tape by the World Bank. The report, prepared with support from KPMG on the request of the Modi-led government, gains importance by coming before the World Bank's annual Doing Business report, which ranks nations and is expected to be released next month. Since taking charge in May 2014, Modi has set an ambitious target of improving by 2017 India's national ranking from a hopeful 142 of 189 below Pakistan and Iran to the top 50. Last year, India slipped 2 spots in the report and was ranked lower than Brazil, Russia, China and South Africa, mainly because of delays in approvals for starting a business, tax payments, getting bank loans and property registration. Modi's government is taking several pro-business steps, such as rolling back plans to tax foreign companies and allowing them to invest more in insurance, defense, banks and other sectors. And outside Nigeria, Hungary has closed off a railway track used by tens of thousands of refugees to enter the European Union on foot. Dozens of helmeted police officers, some on horses, took a position on Monday across the track that traverses the border and has been used for months by refugees, many of them Syrian, to enter the EU from Serbia. Refugees were directed to an official pedestrian border crossing around a kilometer away from hundreds began queuing. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, one of Europe's fastest opponents of the influx of refugees, said many would face deportation under the new rules. At least 20 people have been killed in 2 car bomb attacks in the northeastern Syriac city of Khakshakar. State news agency SANA gave different tools for the blast, which each said were suicide car bombs. The agency said 5 people were killed in Kashman and 12 in Mahatha, and also reported at least 70 others have been wounded. Observatory Chief Rami Abdel Harman said the first blast hit a checkpoint belonging to the Kurdish security forces in Kashman, while the second struck the headquarters of a pro-regime military in Mahatha. Control of Kahashar city and other parts of the province by the same name is divided between Kurdish groups and forces loyal to President Bashar al-Assad. And in sports, Newcastle boss Steve McLaren said his team was given a wake-up call as they slipped to the bottom of the Premier League after a 2-0 loss at West Ham. The ex-England coach took over this summer but remains without a Premier League win after 2 Dimitri Payet goals gave the Hammers victory. McLaren said he's very disappointed and it's a big lesson. Payet gave the Hammers an early lead when he curved the ball past Tim Kerr from the edge of the penalty area. The Frenchman scored his second 3 minutes after half-time with a rebound after Vitor Moses hit the crossbar.
West Ham sensing a first home win of the season ahead. And Wijnaldum and Janmaat saved by the knee of Randolph.
Well, Newcastle got through with such a fortune in the end. Janmaat comes in.
Now it's all about the finish.
United are back in the Champions League after a painful exile last season. The first runner, Saint Memphis Depay, made a quick return to the club he left in the summer. The sides clashed at the same stage of the 2020-01 competition, with Al Nassr United losing 3-1 on the road, turning the tables with the same scoreline at Old Trafford. PSV gained automatic qualification as Dutch champions, while Louis van Gaal's United eased through the playoff route 7-1 against Brugge. The two coaches are well known to each other. PSV boss Philip Cocu having played under Van Gaal at both Barcelona and for the Netherlands. The local authorities said that Chelsea's plan to redevelop Stamford Bridge into a new 60,000 capacity stadium is generally acceptable. Hammersmith and Fulham Council says it would support any plans subject to certain conditions being met. The development would also feature 2 hotels, a Chelsea village comprising of 37 luxury flats and a 276-space car park. A full planning application is now expected to be submitted. Chelsea have played at Stamford Bridge since 1905, and the ground was last redeveloped in the 1990s. However, its current capacity of around 42,000 is significantly smaller than the stadia of Premier League rivals Manchester United, Arsenal and Manchester City, whose grounds hold 76,000, 60,000 and 55,000 respectively. But that's it to wrap on CoreTV News at 4. Many thanks for watching. I am Elijah Wakil Latitude. Good afternoon.